bigoted before the relationship with Meghan.
You think you were bigoted before the relationship with Meghan?
I don't know. Put it this way, I didn't see what I now see.
Hello everyone, welcome to this edition of Viral. I'm your host as always, Kendrick Dix here. Glad you can join us here on Viral. We talk about Prince Harry's new book called Spare. And Prince Harry does not hold back one bit. He talked about his sibling rivalry with his brother, his father, his family, his wife, Meghan, and a whole bunch more about addressing mental illness. But before we get there, join in the conversation using the hashtag ViralHimConnect. And don't forget to subscribe. Subscribe is caring. Tell a friend, call a friend, hit that subscribe button so you won't miss a thing. Yes, Prince Harry is out here promoting his new book called Spare. Yes, Prince Harry had done a lot of interviews throughout the morning talk shows, even yesterday's 60 Minutes interview with Anderson Cooper. Prince Harry did not shed no light on everything. He didn't hold back. He talked about his brother, how they had their disagreements and their arguments, and what led to a physical confrontation that Prince Harry claims. He claims he had spatted with his wife Meghan, and she had to check him one time, and his father, and stuff about the drama about his wife being married to Camilla Parker Bowles, and a whole list of others. Prince Harry addressed in his mental health. Let's hear what's going on with Prince Harry revolving the book called Spare. Take a look.
Good morning, Britain. Breaking news this morning. An extraordinary allegation from Prince Harry.
Bombshells between brothers. The British monarchy again in the headlines. Prince Harry claiming his brother Prince William, the future king, quote, grabbed me by the collar, ripping my necklace, and he knocked me to the floor, in an argument in which William criticized Harry's marriage to Meghan Markle, allegedly calling her rude and abrasive. In an interview airing on 60 Minutes this Sunday, Harry again accuses the British press of racism.
What Meghan had to go through was similar in some part to what Kate and what Camilla went through. Very different circumstances. But then you add in the race element, which was what the British press jumped on straight away. I went into this incredibly naive. I had no idea the British press was so bigoted. Hell, I was probably bigoted before the relationship with Meghan.
You think you were bigoted before the relationship with Meghan?
I don't know. Put it this way, I didn't see what I now see.
And his book reveals more family secrets for the world to see. That Harry wore this Nazi costume for a past Halloween on the advice of William and Kate Middleton. That William and Harry begged their father not to marry Camilla, now Queen Consort. And that King Charles himself joked whether Harry was his son.
It's going to be received by William and Charles as the most extraordinary betrayal of trust.
For now, the palace has no comment. Rami Inocencio, CBS News, London.
Prince Harry didn't hold back one bit, talking about Spare as the book that everyone wants to see, and it will be released tomorrow. Spare is a book that many people are still buzzing and talking about to this day. I still can't get over it that Prince William and Harry were close as brothers, and now they're no longer that close. And I wish, I know Diana would be kind of like disappointed in them two, and you would think their wives would kind of mend those fences, but unfortunately things happen for a big reason. And also with Harry, going to reveal that his father doesn't think that he is his father's son. So there's a lot going on with that. I mean, Prince Harry, and then he addresses mental health issues. Prince Harry, again, receiving a lot of backlash from the UK on trying to write a book after it's almost been 6 months since the Queen has passed. And why would Prince Harry want to do this to damage and upset the royal family? Well, we'll never know. Let's hear what you people had to say out there about Prince Harry, about his book, Spare, and what's your thoughts? Let's hear what you people had to say.
Probably members of his family having a little discussion with him and saying, particularly probably with an understanding of just maybe how ill at that stage the Queen was, and how, you think about it, what an effort it was for her to turn up on those 2 occasions at the Platinum Jubilee celebrations, and getting a real sense of what was actually happening within to the Queen. And he probably, as he'd always said, had a very special relationship with his grandmother, and presumably he felt that even he could realise that this would not be kind to her to have it published while she was alive. I still think there may have even been times after the funeral then he was feeling reluctant, but clearly once he got the book done and dusted, it was going to be a very hard, a lot of persuading to stop the publishers finally deciding to go through with it. And clearly since the funeral, there's been some add-ons as well. So he's only created perhaps more of a problem for himself. So within the royal family, since it's now been published.
Well, yes, and that's an interesting thought as well.
Yes, because. But obviously he feels that it was and when we hear the interview tomorrow night, he will justify why he's doing it, and said, he wasn't happy with their silence and felt he had to put his voice out there. But clearly this voice has taken at times a very eccentric turn with all the revelations, and some actually very complicated. The military revelations clearly have all sorts of implications, not only sort of breaking the sort of unwritten rule about servicemen and women not really revealing the really dark side, the nasty side of war, which we ultimately know means the killing of people. And normally it's down to, if you think back to the Second World War and Spike Milligan, but that's just an example of the sort of camaraderie, the funny stories that go with the horrors of war, the way that was the lighter side. But in real terms, this is complicated, and you wonder why he's actually decided to do it. Is it to highlight the fact that he has always been a security risk because he was fought in Afghanistan, and he is having these discussions with the Home Office since they pulled his security? Or is it just to prove that he was a real man and did have an important part to play? So it feels to me a confused book on so many levels, and at times it's got the element of kiss and tell. Then there is some serious bits about relationship with his mother, but then he goes off into sort of Hollywood, California speak, which again leaves the reader confused.
Yeah. I'm delighted now to be joined by Ben McBean, a Royal Marines veteran who was indeed a colleague of Harry's, and this is what he said about the Duke of Sussex on Twitter this week. I love you, Prince Harry, but you need to shut up. Makes you wonder the people he's hanging around with. If it was good people, somebody by now would have told him to stop. And I'm delighted to say that Ben joins me live now. There he is. Do you still love him?
Yeah. I didn't work with him, by the way. I wasn't a colleague, but I was out there at the same time as him. But yeah, I still think he's a great guy. Yeah.
The thing I find extraordinary about this, and I'm a Royal Air Force brat, so I don't have huge experience of the Army, is that you've got people right across the spectrum. I knew Tim Collins a bit after the first Gulf War, and he's full colonel, and there are Marines like yourself, and it's right across the military spectrum who are basically saying, here's a guy who could have been a really top-draw officer, top-draw soldier, just screwing it up in every conceivable respect. Is that your view?
He was an Apache pilot, and if you look at those machine that he was flying, it's a massive just fighting machine. And we called them in quite a few times for help. And if you look at that plane itself, the helicopter, you know what their job is. And thank God they were there. And even when I was injured, I was taken back on a Chinook helicopter, and I think they were supported by 2 Apaches. And that's to make sure I get back safe, which saved my life. So when you look at what his job was, obviously any Apache pilots probably killed somebody, because that was their job, to make sure that we get out of there safely. That's why we called them in. So that's why I think people still respect him, including myself, for doing his job. So let's not forget that. However, I don't think revealing the body count was wise, personally, and that's my take on it. I think his job, going to war And we know what happens and more. Foot soldiers do it, people in the sky do it. But revealing certain information, I don't think is wise. And that's what he's done. And that's my take on it. That's why I was saying, I love you and what you've done and I support you. But revealing the body count and so on, that wasn't a good move. And now there is obviously a backlash off the back of it.
Piers Morgan Uncensored. Today, Harry and Meghan torched what little was left of their relationship with the royal family and what little was left, frankly, of their own reputations. Last week was mostly sycophantic. This latest instalment was downright seditious. Prince Harry mauls his own brother. He accuses his father, the new king, of being a liar. Even has a dig at his late great-grandmother, the Queen, for standing by and doing nothing. The royal family is directly accused of destroying two of its own to protect itself. And I don't know where it all stops, all this. Where does it end? We've got the book, and then we've got the interview circuit, and so it goes on. It's all apparently a dark plot by Britain and the royals to smear the poor, defenceless, vulnerable Sussexes. Trickery, treachery, hypocrisy. And if there's one conclusion to draw from the final instalment of their Netflix series, it's that Prince Harry surely is now a traitor to the country that he once served.
William and I both saw what happened in our dad's office, and we made an agreement that we would never let that happen to our office. And to see my brother's office copy the very same thing that we promised the two of us would never ever do, that was heartbreaking. It was terrifying to have my brother scream and shout at me and my father say things that just simply weren't true, and my grandmother, quietly sit there and sort of take it all in. They were happy to lie to protect my brother, and yet for 3 years they were never willing to tell the truth to protect us.
Unbelievable. This blistering attack, not only on the institution of the monarchy, but also personally against the senior royals who represent our country around the world, is, in my view, beyond contempt. In their selfish, vapid attempts to rewrite history, recasting themselves as victims, these two have sold their souls, and they've sold Harry's family down the river. It's unforgivable, and it will leave a bitter taste in the mouths of millions of people. But there are toe-curling moments in the show too, moments that would upset even the strongest of stomachs.
Their
castle's too small. I don't know if you heard, but it was too small. They were treated so poorly. He had to duck when he went through the doorways. Okay,
it's hard for him.
It's so hard when your castle's too tiny. He's given 2 interviews now, which are being previewed. ITV, that's the station that, asked Meghan Markle the question, like, in the middle of Africa, like, how are you? She said, thank you for asking, because no one has. Right, because we're focused on Africa. Okay, that's why no one asked you. Anywho, they go back to the same reporter. He's promoting his autobiography, which hits in like a week or so. And here's just a little sampling of what poor Prince Harry is saying in SOT 1.
It never needed to be this way. The leaking and the planting. I want a family, not an institution. They feel as though it's better to keep us somehow as the villains. They've shown absolutely no willingness to reconcile. I would like to get my father back. I would like to have my brother back.
They've shown no willingness to reconcile. Gee, I wonder why. Why do you think the family doesn't want to get back together right now? Does anyone raise your hand if you got a thought? Anyone? Emily?
It could have something to do with the publicity tour that has included so many broadsides at his family and accusations of them leaking to the press, as though Harry and Meghan they would never stoop so low as to plant stories and leak things to tabloids. That is just not their style. They prefer to go and make millions over at Netflix, but they would never stoop so low as to plant stories in the tabloids. It's like actually very, very sad because their grandchildren are involved. There's this family itself, and then the country, of course, that has relied on the sort of stoicism for whatever it's worth. Listen, I'm glad we don't have a monarchy here, but if you're going to have a monarchy, I mean, this is just pretty sad for the entire country. It's so disrespectful, and I'm sad to say it's becoming sort of profoundly American. It's sort of
a lot of you people had some good reactions and some positive, negative reactions. I think Prince Harry at the time he's just trying to tell his truth. And he doesn't think he's not offending no one, but you know, that's Prince Harry for you. Only thing we can say is hopefully Prince Harry can be in fences with his family and get back to a normalcy and stuff. We hope that comes to around the road and stuff. Hopefully he don't have to what he endured, that his children will have to endure, and what his nieces and nephews and stuff. So it's kind of like a revealing book, but Prince Harry trying to get people buzzing and stuff with him and his wife Meghan with the Netflix docu-series that they produced. Still trying to watch that, still trying to figure out. Well, I might get to it probably by the end. Alright, y'all. Thank you all for watching this edition of Vibes. We talk about Prince Harry releasing his new memoir, Spare, on everything. I've been your host, Kendrick Dix, saying so long. We'll see you next time on another edition